the synchronicity is Darius brought up dates, and that's what I've been eating so much of is dates.
Oh, yeah,
Dates,
yeah.
dates. So I go, okay, you want me to search up dates? So I look up dates. Dates. I did not know that dates actually come from the date palm tree. And I was like, idiot, of course you know that. It's about digits. So
Okay, the
dates
palm, right?
is about digits, which is again 5 because the middle here is Sol. So it comes back to Palm Sunday. So everything keeps bringing me back to this date. Now I know that this lunar eclipse is bigger than the solar eclipse. The solar eclipse was sacrifice the sun, and it can be taken many ways.
Right.
With this like Anzac Day, because they were sacrificing the suns. But it's also what it meant was that the sun sacrificed light so that we could see our own light. So then this stirs up ego and shadows within us to deal with before this lunar eclipse coming. Now this lunar eclipse is it's a big one. It's a doozy. It's rattling me. It's rattling a lot of people around the world. Now, I've been holding back on this black swan information. So the last 3 days, my face swells up around my lips. And I can feel the poisons in my lips. The poison shifts around my face and then it comes to the lips. And if I don't address it, it will explode, literally. And I don't need to do this anymore. So I'm going to speak out with my friends Darius and Lisa and tell them about the messages and share with them the messages. And I know that you'll be having similar, if not the same.
All right, go for it.
Lilu is so Lilu is I did not know that Lilu was your being, but Lilu has been a gift in my meeting you guys, so I'm very grateful for that. The lion in meeting you guys has been huge and a gift to me. And you asked me when I met you, what's your narrative, you said. And narrative is story. What's my story?
What
is my story? Then I've heard you say the word a lot, construct. And I was listening to our friend Todd Medina today, who was on live with my other friend Pamela in the States. And he brought up construct, and I was like, that's why you wanted me to listen. So I origin word construct. Construct is come together. Struct is steer, stream, plane, spread. So come together, stream, steer. So now it's coming back to strategies. I was warned or advised or messaged or whatever you want from these beings that put a mark on my throat that this is moments for strategy.
Right.
So what is the strategy? So you have construct. The word construct means come together in alignment. Alignment. That's basically what it means, is alignment. Construct, the origin word or the origin roots of construct is alignment. Now, alignment has been a huge word for us. It's all ions. I always knew it was lion, but now it's all ions.
It's funny because I was doing a consult with someone the other day, and for some reason that word kept coming up, ions. And he's somebody who spends majority of his time indoors. And what I got was he desperately needed to get out into nature and be exposed to more ions. And he needed to be around flowing water, and there turned out, which I felt was near him, and it turned out there was 2 sources of flowing water near him. But I just kept getting the word ions, ions, ions.
Well, ions has been tricked with I ams. So once you know your I ams in you and that you are ions, then you start learning the game. This is a game, and
Mm-hmm.
it's a show, and it's a continual game, but it has been an unfair game because we have been matrixed. The mothers have been tricked. Richard brought up yesterday the placebo effect. He said, "What's your take on the placebo effect?" And I said, "Well, when you say placebo, the first word that comes to me is placenta, the origins of it. What is a placenta? It's the place of entry. What is the placebo effect? The placebo effect is your belief system.
Mm-hmm.
It's been really dirtied up, that word, in science, which is fine because that's their game. Once you start to understand the game and the origin words, you can start to play the game fairly. So then you have a balance within, a balance of your ions. So then I do this thing, mapping. I don't know why I do mapping. I do mapping here, I do mapping all around the world, and it just forms grid lines, it forms messages, it talks to me. Maps talk to me. Maps are a very good way of learning where you are, about the land. All the names are deliberate. You just have to read through the names. So for a long time, we've had Black Swan. The first story of Black Swan was when our children were born, and we were on the east coast, lower than where we are now, on a lake on the east coast of Australia. And we used to go to this island, and this island was cute because we used to take our pet goat, which everyone thought was a dog. So it's kind of funny. Anyway, this little goat, he would jump off the big, huge boulders, jump off them and just go flying in the air. And the kids would say, "That's impossible." I said, "Yeah, well, he's doing it. So what you think impossible is possible for him." And the kids said, "Well, you know, there used to be wild goats on this island, Mum." That's what the kids say. Yeah, it's cool. I said, "Okay, I'll research it." So I looked up the research of it, and I was told, I came across a story of the tribe that lived there. And this tribe that lived there, they lived in harmony, in balance. And then one day came where the white parasites came. The white parasites were swirling above the tribe and swirling above the tribesmen, and the great warriors in the tribe got their spears, their swords, their clubs, sticks, and would hit the white parasites away. This made the white parasites gods or God angry, and they sent a huge explosion around these lands, which created the lake there. And I always found this story really interesting, how they called them white parasites. Years went by and we've shifted away from that location, and we're up here living in Byron Bay. And they've since found that all the rocks in this lake, which we spent a lot of time on the lake, on our boat, and on these rocks in the lake would sit black swans. And they would sit on all these rocks. And I used to love seeing these swans because they're so graceful and so gentle and so elegant. You just feel royal around a black swan. So so coming up to Byron, and I see this thing on the news or on Telegram or something, that they've found fossil forests all around this lake. Those rocks that the swans were sitting on were actually huge pine trees. Huge. It's a fossil forest.
Right.
So I'm going, wow, okay. So, okay, I've got all that message. So then those messages sit within me.
Does that go
Come up,
into like the giants and stuff like that?
possibly,
Like
yeah.
the fossils and like the giant trees cut down and
Yeah.
Yeah.
or the result of this explosion that was sent by the white parasites that just decimated the place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
with a lot of the Indigenous people, and I'm not around Indigenous people, but they're around us. I don't share the government's Indigenous story, but I share the messages I get from the land story and the rocks. And every when I get these messages, they tie in with the true ancient stories. And I love that. It's like a confirmation for me. So then I feel that my story is aligned with nature, which is what Lisa just said to this gentleman. You need to get out in nature, because when you get out in nature, the messages are clear, very clear. Like, how did I meet Lisa and Darius? Through a tree, the blue shiver tree, a sacred tree, the blue marble tree, blue marble earth. Like, how did I meet you guys? Through nature. A calling came for both of us, or all of us. I'm sorry if I am spinning too much around, but I'm getting to a point.
Well, I've got a few things to interject with when you're ready.
I'll stop if you want, because
No.
otherwise I don't want to miss what you have to say, because I want to.
Well, I don't want to steer you off on a different direction either, so keep going.
So the Indigenous story has had to be clever. It has had to work through these moments of the whiteness, which is they've had to keep the story going through different threads to keep it alive. In Australia, everything that they do with the government is check whether you're a Torres Strait Islander or Aboriginal. Every single document, really. No coinkydings there.
Mm.
This is because they were worried that the storylines would come through them. But you see, the storyline comes through all of us if you're connected. So that's great if you want to suppress all these, these tribes people and the origin ones and their bloodlines. You want to disrupt all them, but these ions are in all of us. We drink the water, we hold the codes. We all hold the light. It's just whether we are playing the game of the ions. So our kids go camping. I've noticed in a lot of areas, not just here but around the world, they call a lot of things water that they've trapped Swan. And I always find it close to the coastlines, and they've always cut off the Swan source. The kids go camping last weekend, and there it is, another one, another swan. Okay, really, another swan? So what's swan in Australia? It's the black swan. The black swan represents the impossible possible, because there was never a black swan. There was only white swans. The only black in a swan is when you pulled all her feathers out and her skin is black. Then they come to Australia, and Australia has black swans. So they have just made the impossible possible. Looking into black swan further, it goes through all cultures, all history, mythology, stars. The stars constellation, which is, thanks to Lisa reminding me of this, is the Cygnus, which is the cross. It's a cross. Comes back to compass, comes back to Lilu again. Look into Black Swan, and as I'm talking to Lisa and Darius, I have a friend who is an ET contactee, and he says, "Do you know about the Black Swan effect?" And I went, "What? The Black Swan effect? It's a financial term. It's the impossible possible."
It's broader, but yeah, it's often referred to
Yeah.
in financial terms.
So what's also interesting is that now it comes into the royals. So the Queen owns all the unmarked swans. So unmarked is a great way to say wild. So basically, what are you saying? So you're
Unbranded.
saying, so you own all the swans in the world. Really?
Mhm.
Why? Why do you own all the swans in the world? Because it's a delicacy. They would eat them, and no one else was able to eat them unless you were a royal. I'm going, wow, okay, so that's
So this is
interesting.
going into like well, I don't know where this is going to be posted. So the children and stuff like that as well. The eating, the
Yeah, I don't know if it's that Hans Christian Andersen talks of the 12 wild swans, and I know that Hans Christian Andersen was there to save the children. He would do it through all his stories, all his narratives. If you look into the Hans Christian Andersen storylines, are of that. I haven't gone any further with that because I know that's always underlying. But we have the king being knighted this weekend.
Coronated.
Yeah. So what's coronation? Destiny Stone. Where did Destiny Stone come from? Scotter and the family bringing the stone over.
So all of this leading you to this full moon. Is this what I'm getting?
Yeah, there's more. The other thing so I look into the diet of the royals. If you join into the royal family, you have to sign something saying you will not eat starchy food.
No carbohydrates for them.
No starches. Corn, wheat, flour, pasta, noodles, no starchy food for them. Why? Because what they digest and their ions to keep their bloodline glowing does not support it. So what are the food of the gods? Food for the gods, food of the gods. How do you feed the food of the gods? You feed them starchy food inside so that then they can colonize in your colon. Then you have the royal flush. The deck of cards, spades. Spades is the strongest card in the deck, which is swords, which is your spoken word. You have sweets, sweet. There's so many words that just keep leading back to the black and the white, the yin and the yang, the bile, keeping your ions in balance in your gut, in your stomach. And the fasting before this Easter period was known throughout. Fasting, intermittent fasting, because why? Because they knew that if they wanted to have a fair game, they had to keep it in balance. If it's out of balance, you get viruses and parasites. It's a perfect environment for them. Now, parasites and viruses are the ancient DNA that they don't know how they got here. They know how bacteria got here through comets, but they don't know how the ancient DNA. So with all the information they have, they still don't know. There's 3 types of DNA in viruses and parasites. It's babe, what was that word today that you said, that Dr. Berg said? About types of behaviors of a parasite? There's this word. So if someone, it's a good way to help you understand if someone is out of balance, you'll see them behaving in a way of taking. They'll just continually be taking from you. If
Mhm.
you feel that energy from someone, their equilibrium, their balance is out of whack. They have too many of them in there, whether they know it or not. If you come to people in a sharing manner, they're in balance and they feel in balance. And I feel that right now, we've just been faced with a lot of takers right now. And we've said, you stay over there for a while and you address your takingness.
Well, I think there has
We've-
been a rebalancing of this over recent weeks, or since we moved into this new space, like
Yeah.
throughout March and April. Yeah.
So
Yeah, a lot of the parasitic relationships, yeah, just all gone. That's including with every, well, it's not all gone, but it's the ones that are wanting to stand in their own pure energy that cannot, moving forward, that cannot be, and that's in all relationships. So it's a
it's like a rising up.
mm.
And a rising up is of the shadows, you know, and that arises. We've had small things arise for us where we've had to address them as well. But this eclipses are sharp, sudden, aggressive. They don't really. They just come in and they last. They have effects for 6 months of digestion.
What is it about this one? What is it about this lunar eclipse that's coming up tomorrow, I guess?
We're coming at the end of a Mercury retrograde, so we're coming to a slowing down. We were in a slowing down phase, and then it will go bang. It's sudden change.
Well, that's what I've
When they,
been feeling that this month is going to bring something.
yeah.
Quite.
So I got messages today to show up. Show up. Lisa speaks of curtain call. Show up. You're talking of flashes and flushes. And I keep seeing the flashes too. I see flashes all the time. I see flashes of a horizon flash where it'll just flash in the whole horizon. It's only for a few seconds. Is that solar flares? I don't know. Is that just my eye vision? I don't know. It's just I am noticing it. Do I know all the data and all the history and all the exact coding of everything? No, but I am noticing the signs. And if I don't share the signs, I get sore. So
what do you
it's
think is
much
all the sign of? What do you actually think this solar lunar period is trying to do or will affect, or what?
I honestly, inside, I feel that if we can get enough people to cleanse, purge, fast in the next few weeks, it won't be game over, but it will be seriously a balance. And I feel that
That's
it can
interesting
happen
because I've been fasting recently, because I used to fast a lot and only eat once a day, but then recently I've been eating multiple times, well, like twice a day, but now I found out of nowhere I'm fasting again.
but
Like, it's just a natural.
yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. Are you just doing it naturally? Because that's what's happening with our family. We're not actually planning to fast. We just are. And one of the biggest things in spirituality, which I know this offends so many people, but I don't mean it to offend anyone, but owning what you put in your mouth is a religious practice. And it's a discipline. Because if you're feeding the gods inside, you're giving them a chance to override you.
Well, that's like the as above, so below, as within, so without.
Undercarriage, underworld, Wonderland. Wonderland was, they teased Alice in the movie and the novel Wonderland because they said, you foolish girl, you call it Wonderland. It's underland. It's undercarriage. It's where your yin and your yang is. That's the chess game. That's where Alice falls to. She falls through her inner esophagus, through the tunnel, and she lands on a chess board or the floor, but it's actually the ceiling. She's upside down.
Yeah.
She's overwhelmed. Overwhelmed means you're upside down in a ship. So she's upside down in her own ship. So then she has to go through this journey of craziness and this unknown world in herself to understand that she can play the chess game.
It almost sounds like what you're implying is the inversion of this place could be corrected as a result of this, whatever's going down in this full moon, whatever this means. But the energies afterwards, we could right this ship, so to speak.
In the movie, exactly what you said, Lise, in the movie Caribbean, how does he get to the other side, the other world, the underworld? He flips his ship. Yeah. He goes overwhelmed, underwhelmed, under.
And I just have to, I've got to get this out, because when you said, when you said you went there and you took your pet goat. So the first thing that came into my head was I Pet Goat, the movie. Have you ever seen
the movie?
It's a short. Maybe I should play it for you now. It'll blow you away. It's
yeah,
only,
just share your screen.
Yeah, but that's all I can think of. It's like we're at a point in the I Pet Goat story. So hang on, let me see if I can find it.
While you're doing that, Liz, I just find it interesting because, like I said before, with the natural thing of following my intuition with what I'm eating, and it's not pleasurable. Like I'm not eating or putting things in my body that are for pleasure. It's just because it's what needs to be done in order to move to the next sequence of events. And I've also gotten something when you're talking about dates, something in June. So whether for what you're talking about as well, June, I've gotten in an out of body state that it's going to be so hard for certain people to see the real from the fake, because like everything will be present at that time. So that's just something that I got also. So.
I with what Dari just said, I feel that if say from what we're talking about now shifts just 10 people, that's another 10 that are shifting in that energy that way, which then has a snowball effect or a contagious effect, and it affects all them who's around them, whoever their pupils see. So their pupils, whether they are acknowledging it or not, it shares the contagiousness of it. The momentum is not, the game is not over, but it is definitely contagious now, this momentum happening. And Lilu
cannot be stopped.
Yep, Lilu confirms it all the time for me, as you guys. You don't even probably know. I just listen to your things that you put out, and I can hear it in your frequency. You're just confirming, which tells my story, tells my construct, tells my narrative. We're on path.
Hey, I'm going to play this.
Okay, my pet goat.
Yeah. So if we can turn our cameras off, and if your camera's off, maybe Richard will come and watch it with you.
Oh, they've all left, so the house would be quiet for this. So.
Oh, okay.
So I turn my camera off.
You can if you want. Yeah.
Wow.
That's the first time you've seen it, and I know how there's so much in there.
I tell you, putting on a brave face all the time, you know, for the family, for audiences, it's tough. You know, we all have our sad story. We all have our illnesses. We all have our discomforts and the diseases. But this is that word that you say, Lise. It's construct. This is where all ions now come together and assist, share, and fair trade. This is. I people ask me, when is it? When is it? For me, this is it.
It's always
really
now.
is it. This is the biggest it I've felt coming from this. And you know, you might go through the eclipse and go, I didn't have anything. That's okay.
I've had a headache all week, which I didn't
A
put down.
headache.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
And
I had it.
not only that, it's a constant for me anyways, waking up at 3 a.m.
Yeah, we're doing that too.
all the time. And it's not that yeah. I mean, I could go to bed at 12 o'clock at night. I wake up at 3 a.m. I go to bed at 7 o'clock at night. I still wake up 3 a.m.
Well, that's
it's
the
pretty,
hum of the earth calling you.
Hmm.
So 3 a.m. at night, but 3 a.m. through the day too. And that was the biggest time that starts labor in birth and things. Was 3 a.m. was always witch hour. Now, yeah, there you go, witch again. Which is which way? It's a choice. Do I be the magi one that I can, or do I go on default and let them play the game? Which choice do I play? That film, wow, so many messages. But again, like, I can see why you instantly that came to it. What was interesting is the Jesus Christ-like one was on a boat, like an Egyptian boat. The Egyptian boat that he's on looks like a harp, and the harp is connected to the swan. They designed the harp from the swan. They used the harp because the harmonics of a harp would heal your thyroid glands, would heal certain glands in your body.
There's also the way that boat, oh, and it's Egyptian. I mean, it's the pyramids, the 3 Giza pyramids in the background that are taken out by something from the sun by the looks of it, right at the end. But also the boat, when he came out at some point, it looked like the symbolism for one of the Egyptian gods, the way that, is it Horus?
Yeah. Which is connected to the harp, which is connected, they all connect back. So when he's just standing on that boat, he's not reacting to all that stuff going. There's a lot of stuff going on. He is not reacting to any of that. He understands, and he is on the boat that is guided by the water, the hydrogen ions. He's guided by the water, and he is just in allowing. And I know you guys are in allowing state because you allowed me to meet with you today. I know you guys are allowing. I can feel it when I talk to you. I can feel it when you're not talking to me. I can feel it. If someone's not in
at some point, his feet become on fire, but I don't think they're like that the whole time. I've got to have a look at what.
Well, my feet are on fire. I had this burning desire to speak to you guys today. I have not met any other Australians really that we could speak to publicly, and then I meet you when I needed to. You presented when I needed to, and again, a gift.
So
What
you
was
feeling?
interesting?
I'm trying to get a handle on your emotional state, because you seem
The
both.
emotional state is if just say you've heard this for the first time, you go, oh, who is this kook? Test it. Don't eat for a couple of hours. Fast for a bit. Die ET does not mean die ET for no reason. It has a lot of meanings, die ET. Digest has a lot of meanings. Pathogen. If someone is acting in a pathogenic way to you, give them space. Don't hang out with them. Don't get stuck in their pathogen. A pathogen has to have a host. The actual word pathogen means suffer gene.
Yeah, and
So,
your soul is the
Host.
uncorruptible body in a sense, and it doesn't need food to be sustained. And these bodies that we have, if the limiters were not there for that soul connection completely, the soul would override the will of the body and do exactly, meaning no food, any of these things, to reset it.
yeah, we'd be like that guy in the boat.
Yeah.
And that's what I feel when I feel that guy in the boat. I feel that with you guys, and I feel it with others. I do. I feel that allowing. I feel that boat, and that boat. So the boat now in that film represents the black swan to me.
So do you think the black swan, or this eclipse, is the signal for the black swan event?
Signal.
Signal. Yeah. So is it
Yeah,
a
and so
signal for the black swan event, potentially, as one of its many implications?
yeah. I also believe that you see in a lot of the films the secrecy that's been going on in films. You see it all the time, the secrecy, the secrecy, the secrecy. Why do you have to have a secret? If you are who you are, you just show up. The only reason you have a secret is you're fragile. So why are they so fragile? Why have they ramped everything up to make us so weak at this stage? Because they knew this stage was coming. They knew these days were coming. They knew. If they can remote view space station stuff, they know about. If they remote view everything, but they can't remote view the future, or not so good anyway. You know why? Because it comes back to us, the creating ones.
And the unpredictability.
And where do we live? We live in Black Swan land. We live in the land that's possible. The Great Oz. You look up what Black Swan represents in metaphysics and crystals and stuff, it's arsenic. Now, arsenic's a big one for us because the guy who developed Agent Orange is in Byron. Now, my messages don't come through media. My messages come through events that happen to our family, through nature or going to the shops or at the beach or surfing, or through craft that we see through the night. So my messages do not come through any social medias. They come through all out there. They come through kids' drawings. That's where my messages come through. This black swan came through my kids camping and us taking our goat, a decade or so to an island. So I didn't know about the black swan thing. The black swan, the cygnus, the signal. So I look up because of Lisa mentioning the constellation. When is it visible? May. Okay, of course it is.
Mhm.
Lisa knew.
No, she didn't.
I know you didn't, but you said it.
Yeah, no, but I didn't consciously.
Darius
That
brings up
helps.
dates with me. You said it. So
Well,
you're just doing it. You don't even know we're doing it. We're not allowing the programs to default us. We're more like on the boat floating. And we're allowing the water.
Just acting off of instincts and intuition.
Yeah, because we believe strongly in enough of our own strength that the water will carry us because the water has the Akashic records. It's not our IQ. IQ is just another box that they want you to follow in. It's just another school program. School, fish. I mean, honestly, it just keeps going and going and going. So my husband and my kids are great fishermen. They've taught themselves to be great fishermen, to feed our family through these times. So do you give someone a fish or do you teach them how to fish? And that's what I feel this is what we're doing right now. We're teaching people how to fish. So that and in that movie, what happened? Abundance came to him. He didn't do anything. He's just standing there and the fish are falling in his boat. Abundance will come if you trust it to the nth degree, and it will test you because this is part of your Christ consciousness, your higher self, whatever. It will not only test you spiritually, it will test you physically, it will test you family, it will test you community, it will test you animals, it will test you through medias, it will test you in your sleep, and it will test you with your diet and you're quiet.
Well, I tell you what, Athena's been talking a lot with me lately about these tests as well, and that they're actually us testing ourselves for our integrity, really. They're integrity tests. And you pass, you get more. You get more access to your own abilities, powers, whatever you want to call it, insights, memories, all of that sort of. And we're passing and failing constantly. But we're sort of testing ourselves all the time at the minute. And I can see that. I can sort of see that on this path that I keep talking about that I'm seeing. And even though the path does not deviate, there's no left and right turns, it's straight, it can go like that though, you know. And I would just sort of say higher frequency, higher timeline as opposed to the lower shit. And they seem to be a result of these tests that we're putting ourselves through. And they're tests of truth, they're tests of integrity, they're tests of heart.
Ocean. Water, ebbs and flow, the moon, whether the moon, I don't know, is the moon real, fake? It is what it is. It's up there. I see it. So I'm seeing the moon. The ebbs, it affects the menstrual cycle. It affects our menstrual cycle affects the male's cycles as well because it triggers them. So everything is ebbs and flows. And if that's again comes back to the game, we don't want a perfect world. We don't want the game over. We just want a balance. We want to have a fair game.
Some of us do.
Hey?
Some of us do.
Well, I would like to know that I can still play with my dog, with my kids, with you guys, with Richard.
Oh, that won't stop.
Yeah, no, because the place that would be, it's almost like what I say. It's all the pleasures of physicality with no limitations. So it's all of it, but you're free to do as you wish.
Yeah.
without
In,
these limiters, distortions, or any of that.
in a game that isn't rigged against you.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
And like all the memories, all the records, like I mean, I've accessed portions of those out of my body, but the like all of it will all be known to all souls.
so when I hear Darius speak like that, I go, oh, he's recolonizing. You're shifting it all around. You're going, okay, I'm going to put this here. Like you speak to your body. You listen to your body. You speak to. You're talking to your ions. You're talking to your I ams. So you're like that guy on the boat. You're listening to it. You're not on default. You're not watching what's happening around and being, thrown at us or opinionated, like trying to poke us. You're just going, this is my path. I don't know all the answers. It's okay, but I will let the water carry me on the, and so this black swan, how is this going to assist others, this message or these words we're sharing together? How does it assist? It if you feel like you're spinning out of control, they might remember this conversation.
So perhaps to try and be like the guy in the boat and just completely ignoring all of the chaos around you that's about to hit over from here on in. And the focus was always his heart, that heart that was painted on his chest, but
yeah,
that was the focus always. And then at the end of that, if you're not disturbed, pulled in, all of that, then that lights up. Because if we are looking at the black swan, because I did say it in my last video too, that the potential for the financial collapse, I think, is this month, which would be this black swan.
So
yeah, just don't panic. Don't buy into it.
yeah,
Be neutral.
Yeah, and
and
it's
sorry.
it's all inevitable too. Like this is an event that's going to happen no matter what. So, I mean, I've been showing that many times as well. It's the pathways that you go. It doesn't matter if you go left, right, middle, down, below. It all leads to the final, that marker.
So how do you assist the shift? So you show up, you act. What's the difference between so you have miracle and molecule? And the difference between a miracle and a miracle is spirit spinning its path. A molecule is spirit spinning and taking a step on path. And I feel that that's what it's great if you understand the Trinity, which is 3, mind, body, spirit. That's great. That's great if you if you get it, like you see that. But if you're not understanding of it and you're not practicing it on path, if you're not doing it in your day to day, you haven't completed the balance. You have to complete the balance. It's not enough just to say, oh, I just meditated. It's not enough. You have to be doing it through your day. How you speak to other people, what you eat, how you treat animals. If you're continually taking, you've got to think about that. Am I acting like a parasite? Am I acting like a virus to others, as well? And we all do it. Right now, I'm having our little girls are outside giving our horses shots because not like they make up the drink that we take, apple cider, Epsom salt, sea salt. They put in iodine and stuff to give the horses an extra boost because they've got parasites, which we have as well. And is that from anything that we've caught within us? No, it's from what's coming from planes. So it's not just us, it's all the plants as well. Like we're seeing it in the plants. They have viruses and parasites in them. We see it in the water troughs with the horses' water troughs. So we understand and we deal with it and we cleanse. And then as soon as I know that if any of our family members have too many in us, I can't have a clean conversation with them because it's not a fair game. It's
Yeah,
unbalanced.
it's also in the energy field too.
Yeah.
Like it's in the frequency. I mean,
Also,
that's even with like it's a full responsibility type deal, because even the certain things of asking, like asking and wanting, like what's the energy really behind that? Because typically it's one only of taking, so it's
Well, yeah, I unconditional comes up a lot. So when I'm speaking with you guys, it's unconditional. Whether anything happens from it or nothing happens from it, it doesn't make any difference to my well-being. It's just I'm putting it out there in an unconditional manner. If you're putting something out there in a conditional manner, which is again like Darius just said, the taking, it has a whole different vibe to it. Why didn't you respond? Why haven't you called? Why didn't you say this? Why?
okay, just to go back to the parasite thing for a second though,
Yes.
because to me, this whole period that we've been living through since 2020, right, has been, and what people are calling COVID, right, has essentially been a mass collective parasite purge.
Mm.
And when you're having a parasite die off, it makes you sick, right? So I think we've been doing that anyway. But because this subject has come up the way it has, are we at the final purge of this? Because it's happened.
The royal flush.
Yeah, it's been happening physically for these last 3 years, 2.5 years, whatever it's been. And now, since we entered this new space, for me anyway, it's been happening in behavior, like people becoming, getting rid of the parasitic relationships and interactions in their life. So behavior is starting to purge. Well, what would be like, is it the construct itself is actually doing its final flush of
So I'm not a doctor or a practitioner, but I know that ivermectin, I didn't know ivermectin was the same ivermectin that we give to the horses. The ivermectin, we don't give it personally to our horses, but I know other people do. Ivermectin is worming for horses.
Yeah, it's
I was
anti-parasitic.
like, hang on. Yeah, but I'm like, well, I've known for many years that all the worming products in the Western medicines for humans and animals is just, that's great. It will get rid of the worms, but it is really severely will damage your internal organs. Now, you take that for a few times. What does it do? It does the same thing again. It makes you weak. And what does viruses and parasites need? They need a weak host. They don't like sunshine.
They purge you of them, but they also create the perfect environment.
Yeah, in your colon. They
For
colonize.
what's left of flourish. It'll get rid of the adults usually, but they'll
Yeah.
leave the eggs behind and then create the
Mhm.
perfect environment for those eggs to flourish.
Yeah. Which then
yeah,
relates.
that
Yeah.
just pinged also like the mentality of also a lot of people in this realm anyways, is the colonizing, conquering, colonizing. It's all parasitic forms of thinking, acting, and being. That's not actually the
So you
yeah.
have, how do you trick society? You trick them through the matrix. You trick the mothers. So you trick them before birth. what does a child want to do? A child, this is what I was talking to with Richard yesterday. A child wants to please its mother. And this is not taking any energies away from the father. It's just that the child has come through literally the porthole, the mothership. The first breath is taken through the umbilical cord, the delta, the channel. The first, if we're tricking the Mars, if we're tricking the mothers, well, there's a big swing for the game, right? Because when the child comes out, the child wants to please the mother. That's what the child wants to do. You know, I wanted to please my mother because she's your full connection from 10 months. That's your connection here to Earth. So you want to please her. So if we trick the mothers, we trick the seeds. Trick the seeds, it keeps going. How many generations can we keep going? You see all these pictures of people posting what people used to look like a few decades ago. They look really different. We used to, just up here, we used to see a cranial osteopath, and he said the biggest health problem is that what we eat, because it's making us weak. What do we have? Weekdays. Like, where do you want to cross over? Do you want to cross over it with astrology?
Well, there was
Anything?
also
Yeah.
a cardiologist guy that I listened to months ago, and what he was saying was that when you fast and stop, like prolonged fast, 3 whatever etc days, that your cells turn back on. It's almost like when we eat something, we shut down those cells, become dormant, and they stop producing that which they were naturally producing. It's almost like the tobacco. When you smoke, it's your body naturally produces nicotine, but when you start smoking, it shuts it down, that natural ability of the cells to do that. And the same thing with food. So it's essentially by intaking external things, we shut down our natural ability to produce it within.
Yeah. So
that's essentially where that was going, which lines up to everything that you were pretty much saying as well, or just saying.
So lines up. So all ions again comes back to that word construct. So by sharing these words, and we're crazy, just say we're the crazy ones and you're normal, but you're still eating all those foods. Test it. Why don't you test it? Test it for 3 days. Test it for 1 day. Test it for half a day. Get someone in the family to test it. See if it makes a difference. Do it for yourself, because these are the game changers, and the extremities of what's going on and how crazy everything has become is only proving it.
Mm.
They're proving our story. What the craziness is doing is proving everything we speak about.
By June or by the end of June, I don't think there'll be any denying that I don't know if there'll be any normies left, so to speak. I don't know.
Well, I believe the body is very clever and can heal itself, but are you in love with your illness? That's a big one we say, and I know this pisses a lot of people off when I say it, but are you in love with your illness? Oh no, the doctor said this is special. Oh, you're special, all right. You know why you're special? Because you're paying for his wife's handbag at the next Maldives trip. That's why. Not all medical people are like this, but the agenda behind who pays for all the science, you have to follow the dots. You can't not
The money
is
always the answer.
Yeah. So if the body is able to heal itself, then and we can do this, like Darius said, you can just do this by just allowing and having a break and just allowing the body to heal. Who's making money then?
No, that's why
So-
I think it was in, I think it used to be in India or Japan, somewhere like that, a long time ago. You paid the doctor to keep you well. The minute
Yes.
you got sick, you didn't get paid.
Yeah.
So he was paid a stipend every month or whatever to keep you healthy.
Which is fair trade,
That sounds like a fair trade.
which is sharing, which does not feel in any way of something sucking energy from you. And that's where we've come to now. We've come to that with our businesses. We've come to, this is what we're talking about now. We're talking about self-healing. We're talking about different ways of doing our society. All of that has to fail. So if all those things have to fail, that's a lot of big reshuffling. It is a serious amount of reshuffling to do.
You said it that way because I just thought, are we about to see the last kind of en masse parasitic die-off? And like we said, when you're having a big parasitic die-off, it makes you sick. So, I mean, I thought we were going to see the government structures and all that start to collapse in July, but maybe it's sooner. So all the parasitic infrastructure and structures and institutions and all of that just use and abuse and just stifle. Maybe that's what's about to, among other things. I mean, it's going to play out in so many ways if what we're seeing is the last of the parasites die off.
So I'm Lisa, I'm just a mum with 8 kids on a farm. And so what is my role in all this? So what's my show? What's my narrative in this? What's the story? So the story is I share, and already I can feel my face has completely gone down. Thank you. And so how do I act as an ion here on Earth? How do I act as an ion? And I share the story because the more that is contagious to this story, the more that starts spinning their own spin and playing their own game, not the unfair one on default, but playing the game in a conscious, awake form, the system can close down. The system won't close down until this reaches a certain level all the time. The more we share, the more, since last year coming out to now, I've seen more things shut down than ever.
I remember that show we did, Darius, the apps are shutting down, because that's what was
saw.
Yeah, we did so much stuff that's actually, if you were to go back and look at it, it's happening all now. Yeah. So I mean, and also there's such a, people are thirsty for truth, the information, the true information. Not the one with distortions or any of that.
Well, the 20%,
what do you have?
80% bullshit they've been getting for years.
Yep. Yeah. And when it's spoken, now anyways, because they're ready to receive it, it's shattering a lot of the matrices that were shattering a lot of it. And because majority of the stuff that people believe, the very word belief is because you're believing something, not knowing something. So they hold a lot of belief systems that are going to be shattered, and then they're going to step into knowings.
So if you know the belief, if you understand that, what Darius just said, that's a black swan moment. Because now you know where the placenta is, the place of entry. So you don't have to be matrixed anymore. you might not have any answers from that point that Darius just said, meaning that black swan moment. But it's now you acknowledge, you see, you recognize that we have been mined. We don't need to be mined anymore.
Oh man, that has multiple meanings, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's like the stopping of thinking and just feeling. That's the feeling part. That's just tuning in to that natural
Like-
source, the natural flow.
Like
Yeah.
Lisa said.
Yeah.
Because even on that ship, I don't know if you noticed when he was floating in that movie. This movie's cool, by the way. Thank you for sharing that.
I'll send you the link.
So when he was shifting, you could see there was ripples in the water. It was not perfectly flat water. Now, sometimes the water does go perfectly flat, and they're really magical moments when you're out on the water and there's no wind. But most of the time, there's wind. You know, there's ripples in the water. It's okay because you're following the water. You're allowing. Now, these parasitical beings that we have in us have also shaped us to where we are now. So is there a good and a bad? No, because they've also shaped us to this moment right now so that we understand these tools that we have. Do I like how all the stuff that's gone on? No. It's disturbing. That's just my opinion, you know. Like I can't have judgment anymore. The judgment went a long time ago. I can't judge. Yeah, I just that was then. This is now. This is where I am now. I'm here now. I will share the gifts that I see, and I'll share them with others that fair trade with me.
Is there anything else you feel like you need to express in order to heal your map? Yes. Anything that's not been said yet?
Just this fair trade is really important. And this is the new way of community. This is the way. So what happens if all the hospitals shut and all the banking system shuts and all the royals and all the governments shut down? You can't have another government. It's not going to work that way.
No.
It didn't work before. You can't have a new royal come in. It's not going to work that way. How do you do it? You fair trade. You work with your communities. You work around you. You eat the foods in your environment. You share. And if someone is acting unjust, then they will be dealt with in a fair way. They'll be pushed out until they behave and realign with all the other ions. And that's what we have to do. This all ions is the new way, or the old way being revisited to moving forward. And I these things come up for our family. Oh, we can't buy this. We can't pay for that. We can't do this. And then a gift turns up. How the hell did that know to turn up at that moment? It just does. I don't know how it happens. I can't explain it, but it does. And this has been a really tough one for our children because they said, well, Mum, that's really great, but you don't have millions of dollars. I said, well, you watch what's going to happen in the next few days. Watch what happens. Something presents. Did I need to be a millionaire to make that present? No, I just believed like that guy on the boat floating on the black swan. I believed in the impossible, which comes back to what Daria said. It's a belief system. If you don't believe in that and you're on default and you believe all the other narratives.
Because what you've got really isn't a belief in the impossible, it's a knowing.
Yeah.
So that's
which is the present where the gifts are. Now, what does schooling system and everything takes you into the future or the past? What does Hollywood do? They do these two areas, and literally they are no man's land. You can't heal from there. You can't fix things from past or future projections. You can only do it from right now. So look at what you have now. Look at your body right now. Look at the people around you right now. Look at your environment and say, what can I do with everything I know right to this point right now to move forward on my path? And don't worry about tomorrow. Just worry about today, right now, right now, right now, right now. And then you can go to the next day. But if you go, oh, what about this? We're going to lose the house. We're going to this. You don't know what's going to happen. You have no idea of the plan of the universe.
No, we don't.
And to think you do, wow. If you have someone saying they think they know what's going to happen in the universe, wow, well, what's their narrative?
Well, the only thing I think is that we're not going to be there for long. Like that point of chaos, confusion, and fear.
Yeah.
Just like the guy on the boat,
Yeah.
steer through because it won't last.
But it looks, how strong did he have to stay? And did he swing his arms or a sword or anything? He just stayed really still.
Well, he actually looked like he was asleep. Or
He was in a trance.
yeah.
Yeah. And how do you stay in a trance with chaos? You go back to nature.
Yeah, you go back to your source.
Yeah.
Well, I like to well, not like to. It's like the black space. It's that you go within, and then nothing affects you from the outside.
So that black space is the void. That's what I've been seeing a lot. The black space, the black curtain call. And I feel a lot of the time that's going back to the dark soil and the placenta. It's going back to the beginning. And it's like a complete recharge or refresh before all the other goop. It's actually refreshing hearing that you see all that, because it's again, we've brought 8 babies into this world, and I want to hear, not want to, I need to hear more people say words like what you guys say.
Yeah, well, it's you just it's the best way to put it. There really is no corrupting the beginning of all things. Your soul essence, your spark, the start of it. Like that's the thing that cannot be touched. That's what even with the parasites, they in the energies of dampening the field, they try to touch that because they're trying to do it within the physical body or trying to do it in many different ways, but they can't actually reach that point because it's in a place that they're not from, in a sense. I mean, it's a complete opposite. If that's
Yeah. Well, you said something like right in the beginning of this conversation about the trees, and were they the giant trees, you said? And to keep us in a weak state, you need deserts, you need the water to be dammed so that it's not flowing naturally through the land, so then the fertility of the land changes. You need weakness. That's what Agent Orange was about through Vietnam. I think they called it El Rancho or something, where they sprayed them for nearly 5 years, I think it was, or 6 years, with this Agent Orange arsenic type which is made from copper. We sprayed them, and the reasoning for that was to deforest them, so that they had no food, no clean food anyway, and no forests to hide in. What's going on now? Like, that's where all the plane spray started from back those days.
It's the reason also why they're still spraying as well and stuff like that. It's all to it's all to distort the body. That's all it's designed for, because the when the soul's fully, I mean, the soul's connected, but it has limiters due to the body is like these limitations. And through all the spraying, through all food, all these things, it's to disconnect that full connection from the soul, completely fusing with the body. Because when that happens, whatever the soul wills, the body has no choice but to follow. Only when that connection is fully there.
Yeah, but see, in my experience, when the soul wants to, it can, none of that shit happens. Like, you were there, take you back to my Christmas Day experience. My body healed instantly. Well, when I say instantly, as a result of that experience, stayed that way for quite some time. I had physical strength that was inexplicable.
Yeah, because that was a temporary full connection, or almost a full connection of the soul.
So
Yeah,
no
I'm
matter what state
yeah.
my consciousness could bypass all of that. It can bypass.
Yeah, when the like, it doesn't matter how distorted the body is, but when that connection occurs, it's an instant shift, instant. And so, like, even with that stuff, well, like with you, Lisa, the Christmas Day stuff, that was, I wouldn't say that was 100% connection, because if it was, then you would be able to do there would be no limit. Whatever you think is instantly.
True, I'd have
But yeah. So people get glimpses of that connection, and that's where they heal things, and it's a miracle. But it's just
what
the connections being
all
made.
I was getting at though is that whatever state my body was in as a result of the poisons, as a result of what's in the food, didn't stop it. So it was like the soul's choice to do that pushed past.
Yeah, so it's like that, an override almost in us. In saying that, like Dory said, my ship is still here, so I have to be responsible for my ship. So I can see what they're doing. I can see the signs. So I have to play the game. While the game's still being played that way, I still and I can see them now shifting the goalposts this way, and then they shift it this way and this way. So we were warned to stay flexible in this stage through 2023, and definitely feel flexible. Not necessarily all the time my body, but the more flexible I stay in my body assists me through the day, but also flexible in my thoughts and things, being flexible, being able to be swayed the way that the like that man on the boat.
Well, I knew there was going to come a time when we would need our head on a swivel. So that requires some flexibility.
Yeah.
Because there's just going to be so much happening, and there's going to be so many things to look at, and it's just going to be blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Well, I do believe, though, from this discussions like this, it collapses other things. bigger things, bigger, you know, bigger 3D stuff. It does. It shifts it. It collapses it. It's like, okay, we can do this now. We can do this now. We can shut this down. We can shut this down. And I'm seeing it daily happening. So do I hold on to stuff and cause discomfort and disease, or do I share, show up, act my ions, and then move on with the day? And my mouth and my face is saying, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Well, that's great. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Yeah. And it's interesting though, like what you were saying about Christmas Day, like how all that went on for you.
I actually know what that is. Like your build up and stuff. Like when you don't say certain things, that's like that's your soul wanting to come through, and then if you don't allow it to come through, it builds up in the body. The body gets super tense, and yeah,
Yeah, and it
until
swells.
until it's expressed.
Yeah. And it's amazing because you spoke of butterflies, and butterflies comes back to the Shiva tree, comes back to the winging it, which is what I've been saying we've been doing it, is we've been winging it, and it's the masculine and feminine and then the tantra in the middle. And butterflies is actually but. So the reason they got the word term butterflies is if you bend over, it looks like a love heart and a butterfly. Like a warning, when you Google search it, it really has some gross pictures that come up. But that is the origin meaning of butterfly. So that feeling of butterflies, like I had butterflies coming on to speak with you guys today. I literally, the kids are going, what's going on, Mum? And the butterflies are flying in me because they knew that they were going to come out and, you know, metamorphose. Alice in Wonderland, absolute. Blue butterfly, Alexandra. Like it's always in front of us, all these messages and codes and signs for us to pick up on. And that's what the black swan is. It's been on our maps. And
Well, it'll be interesting
the
to see
right,
if anybody else is picking up on what you're picking up on.
yeah. And how can you own something that's unmarked? I mean, that's quite a.
Well, it's
When I
like the default. So the default position is she owns it unless someone else claims it.
yeah. So, I mean, wow. So, yeah, and I look at the lakes, these Swan lakes, and you go and see them, and they're river or creeks to all these lakes. The swans are always cut off by a weir or concrete or.
Yeah.
And so, in spiritual language of animals, the black swan protects her young, her seed. She's the wild card. Swans are loyal. They're graceful. They stick their necks out,
Mm-hmm.
and they mate for life. And if that mate disappears, one of them, they will mate again. But if they have a balance in themselves together, the male and the female, and they're a great omen. The black swan. Not to 3D land though, because they're the wild cards. They're the ones that they didn't see and thought didn't exist. And that's what it is in the financial market. I mean, I haven't probably said it in the exact terms that they would use, but
They say that it's an event that you can't really foresee, but once it happens, you realize in retrospect that it was inevitable.
yeah. And what is an eclipse? Same thing. What's the star sign of the swans? May. So we have 3 spin cycles, 3 huge spin cycles this year, and so this is where we're coming out of the Mercury retrograde of the first one, and now coming into the second one with the power of an eclipse. So this cycle, I feel, will be bigger definitely than the last cycle. I wasn't sure if the 3 cycles would have
You
the
saw
same
3 spin
potency.
cycles. I went, okay, I'm seeing the 3 flashes. I thought, are they the same? We're just seeing them their own way? I wonder.
So then you'll have so we come out of this Mercury retrograde, we go into a spin cycle. So it's like this.
Shakes it all
So
up.
if your spin, even if you're connected and cross-conscious and all balanced, you're still going to feel this. You will. You'll either feel it from the mass consciousness, or you'll feel it from outer world energies, or you'll feel it from earth, or you'll feel it in your body, but you will feel this some way. Everyone will feel it differently, to different extents to where they're at. And there's no right or wrong, because again, it's all about us learning the tools for where we are right now. And some people have come here to learn different tools. Like, we can't all come here and be the same, because that would just be pointless for creation. So we come here, so we're in this second spin, big spin. I was unsure whether the spin cycles would be of similar levels, but the way it's feeling and the way it's coming across and the codes and the words I hear from others, it just definitely feels like each spin cycle's just like like, yeah. And the fact that it's an eclipse, it just went, wow, okay, all right. You want to inflame my throat, you want to give me a cut throat, you want to I'm getting it, I understand. I'm not gonna argue with you guys. It's easier to be the dude on the boat.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it definitely is.
It is. But
well, we've been at this for nearly like an hour, well, over an hour and a half. Is there much more you want to add?
No. Thank you for.
I just feel
Thank you for sharing.
I want to get this out. I want to see what they're.
So, do you feel by this conversation? Actually, not even this conversation. Do you feel that you are part of the bigness?
Well, I think we all are. None of this would be happening if we weren't all playing our part, consciously or unconsciously.
Yes. Yeah, all part of the bigger picture, bigger plan, bigger.
So now we are playing our part and we are showing up. And I'm not seeing one curtain call. I'm seeing the curtain come up and the curtain come down and the curtain come up again and the curtain come down. And I'm seeing these huge flashes. And I felt honored and gifted when you said you saw the flashes.
You just reminded me something too.
Hey?
All is going to be revealed too. All of it's going to be seen.
You just reminded me of something with this curtain call thing. Sometime last year, and I can't remember whether it was a waking vision or a dream. I can't remember, but I was sitting in the audience in a theatre. I'm looking at the stage. The curtain goes out. The curtain opens. Everybody's looking at the set. But you know how in a theatre, like with a set, you can have people behind the set pieces, and then if they move, they pulled those set pieces off the stage, revealing a completely different set. And then that got pulled out, revealing a completely different set. And it happened 3 times. So the movie or the show, the scenery, the setting, the environment of the show that we were watching changed 3 times.
Wow, that's a really good vision, because that's what Richard and I, we always used to use a hashtag called behind the scenes. That's what we were. We were behind the scenes. We would dress in black. We were always behind the scenes. We would steer the show.
Yeah.
So that's what we did. We steered the show. We didn't create the show. The show was whoever was the subject, but we would make them look beautiful, make them present well. We would assist them. So we've pulled away from that industry quite dramatically, and not even through our choice. The universe said, that's it. You've had enough goes of that now. We're not doing this anymore. What's the this is the next show. So you've got these behind the scenes people pulling out. I mean, it's 3 shows. Wow.
Okay. I'm gonna
Well,
say I'm gonna
thank
stop.
you, Lisa. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Let's
Darius, thank you so much, both of you.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I didn't really say much. We were just listening to you, really.
but if we were just able to provide a space for you to express everything you need to, then that's wonderful.
Yeah, and it's more of just the energy that's important too. So, yeah.
All right, I'm going to stop recording.
The fact that